All right, so let's try and recover from yesterday's fiasco. Today, the shop is an absolute disaster, so I gotta take time to clean it up first. And then I'm gonna work on brake lines, try and get the brakes all resolved and hopefully bled by myself. See how that goes. And then I'm gonna work on gas pedal, probably the throttle cable. And then at that point, I gotta get it shuffled around in here so I can start welding rockers on it and start all the metal work it needs. And we'll see what happens. Oh, but there's something I wanted to point out in yesterday's video about the drive shaft. Somebody already commented on it, and I was pretty impressed that he actually picked it up just in the video. So I'll show it up close, and maybe it'll help some people out. So basically, this is the. Actually, this will be a funny rant, but then also something else. This is the part of the drive shaft that I cut off, about 1 1/8 inches. But the funny part of it is, if you look, it's 2.5 inches in diameter. And my brother has this pipe cutter. Now, if you look, this pipe cutter says it goes up to 2.5 inches. And if you try and go around the pipe, it hits the back wall before it rests all the way in on the second wheel, and the wheel won't even get into it, and that's with it all the way backed out if you look inside my hand there. So that's kind of a, off-brand China whatever. But the main thing I wanted to mention was something I've always done is, if you need to get a perfect line, or reasonably perfect line, around a piece of pipe, then you can take a hose clamp and put a hose clamp around it, and then kind of wiggle the hose clamp around as you tighten it, and it'll self-center itself, and then you just use it as a guide and cut right along the edge of it, and that'll give you a pretty decent, almost perfect circle. So hopefully that helps somebody out. And he mentioned in a comment that if you're curious about a drive shaft being out of balance, you can throw a couple of hose clamps on and use this part as a weight to try and balance the drive shaft. Like, put it in a couple different locations and move it around. Put a couple of them on there if you need more weight. Or, like I thought, you could also put like a stick-on wheel weight behind it and clamp that on to really hold it in place. Just if you got to get by, if you're just on a mission and you got to make a trip, that might come in handy. Because drive shaft vibrations will feel like it's going to tear the car apart. So that's a good tip. Just wanted to get that out there. Thanks for mentioning it. I think it was Van Man, something or other, I think, that mentioned it. I'll have to double check. But anyway, I'm going to get back to work. Let's get some stuff done. Let's play catch up. I need to catch up and surpass where I was supposed to be today. plumbing in the fun stuff, and I needed to run out and get another. I needed to get a 90 for here. I had to shorten this up and get this sent out, because the hood's going to come down and hit this. So I get that sent out the side. So that was a little stop. So did that. Took Riley for a little ride. Riley's not very happy. Incredibly bored right now. But get back to it. So I'm running back and forth, gravity bleeding the brakes now, because all the lines are done. So I'm bleeding the fronts, and I get those. The back end's jacked up wicked high. I'm doing this by myself, and I'm like, maybe the rear calipers are just below the master. It might gravity feed, but I'm pretty sure they're just slightly above it. So they're not gravity feeding, and I'm like putting a little pressure on the top of it to kind of squeeze a little fluid through, and I'm thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. I did all the brake lines, except for the one that comes out of this line and goes over to that line, the crossover line in the back. Russian, just forget something blatantly obvious. Luckily, it didn't even start leaking, because it's not gravity feeding, bleeding, because it's so high. So at least it's not a mess back here. I remembered before it started making a mess. Well, I got some sort of reasonable brakes right now. I didn't deal with the fuel system yet. That's going to be a reasonable brake, but I got to go buy. I just jacked up the car, and there's a bunch of stuff on the roof. Apparently this was sliding. It spooked me a little bit. But yeah, so fuel system, I got to go buy a bunch of fittings for that and stuff anyway. So I'm not going to start running around. I'm going to deal with some of the structural stuff that I have to deal with. I think I can make it go reasonably quick. I'm praying. And if I can get this squared away, then if I'm down to like fuel system and more rot work tomorrow, then I think it's manageable. So this is what we're looking at. This is the better side. This is the side that has more material left. So you can see this isn't really attached to anything. Oh, that's just sitting there. But yeah, there's not much attached here. It's attached right here and a little bit in here right now, and a couple of little straggler spots in here. So yeah, I'm just gonna start cutting, see what happens. Sometimes you just do experimental because you don't have your tools here. I have a roller to put a bow in metal, and the door is not flat, and the square stock that I have is flat. So, how you doing? So I propped it up on a couple of 2x10s. I'm going to try and back on it and see if it'll slowly bend it or if it's just going to kink it. Place your bets. Is it going to kink it or is it going to bow it or is it going to do nothing? It's not very thick wall. It's going, but maybe the front of the truck is heavier. But if you look, it's definitely getting a bow to it. Yeah, you can see there's a bit of a bow in it right there. Let's see if the front's heavy enough. So it's starting to rain. If you look, you can see it's bowing it exactly what I want. There's a straight one behind it. So I'm going to line up the one for the other side and do that one a bit. And just kind of see if we can get this other one prepped. Well, it's just before, because it's just starting to rain. Anyway, I'll get back to it. I don't know if you'll be able to tell from here, but they did bow. This one, the second one, bowed a little bit further in the middle. Jumped on it a few times. That leveled out. I want to say they're within like a 1/16 of an inch there. But if you look, I don't know how much of that you can see, but yeah, that's touching down the bottom and that's touching up the top. That's how much bow we got out of them. And I'll try and show the rocker on the car. So basically, I'm going to put the bow aiming up so it's straight. So right now, if I line it up with the front of the door and the quarter, I'm inside about thickness of my finger in here in the door, because the door's got a bow in it. Now with this, that's right out exactly where I want it. It's in just a crumb here, but you're going to have to level it up to this sheet metal right here anyway. So I think that's going to be just fine. Let me jump on this one just a crumb. We'll see. We'll see how picky I want to get. But that'll be structurally sound. Very, very structurally sound. Cool. All right. Way better than it was. All right, so I'm wrapping up for the night, and at this point, I don't think I'm gonna make it Friday's portion, so I'm gonna have to take Friday for more work and hopefully be up there Saturday. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so unless a miracle happens tomorrow, I don't think I'm making it for Friday, but hopefully I can make it for Saturday and get in a couple of days of racing. So today I got the brakes kind of finalized and kind of one person bled. Need to get somebody here and do a couple more pumps and just kind of squirt the last of the air out of it. I got to hook up the vacuum line to that, throttle cable, and then basically just the wiring. Probably just throw water in it rather than coolant, and get the wiring up and going enough for the distributor, the fuel pump, starter, and yeah, fun stuff. So anyway, yeah, so brakes are all done today, and then this, I started on where there was no rocker at all, and I put in 2-inch square stock, and then on top of that I did 1/2-inch square stock, and then this is 16th gauge or 1/8 inch, maybe 1/8 inch by 7 flat stock, and that got me right in to the inside edge of the door. So that's all super solid like this. That ain't going nowhere. And if you saw it in the video, I bent it with the truck and it worked out pretty well. Then I started stitching all the rust in, and please don't judge. This is pretty much temporary because I want to body drop this thing eventually, like about 3 inches. So most of this will just get chopped out anyway. And also I ran out of argon for the regular welder, so I had to break out the little flux core guy. And I am cutting out all the rust under here as I go. Like all this will be cut out and finalize this tomorrow. I think the other side is a little less bad with the rot going into the floor, and it needs all the same as this, but I already pre-bent this one while I had the truck bender system out. So that's already bent, and all these pieces are already cut to length for the other side, so that should speed up that side a little bit more, and kind of exploratory on this. And then all the floor cross braces, I got to make extensions off of those and run them over to here. Once I'm done with the floor, then I'm going to make those extensions off of the floor braces all the way out to the rocker. But yeah, she's coming together. I mean, that's pretty satisfying compared to the nothing that was there before. And then you can see like that lines up reasonably well. You know, it's in a little bit right here, but not too bad. And then the quarters on top of it here anyway, so a little bit of filler, and that would line up. But you know, gap's pretty good all the way. Got it up past the door, and it goes all the way out to the back edge here. So does that flat stock and that 1/2-inch square tubing. So that's all getting reasonably solid, and it is a mess in here. And working at night with the door shut, welding, flux core with patch panels that have paint on them, and floors that have random cake on them and stuff. It was pretty potent in here. So as soon as I stopped the noise, I opened the door, put the fan on, and then stepped back in and realized just how bad it was. So sure I'll be hacking up along tonight. But anyway, wish me luck that. Oh, and I got the line lock all hooked up today, along with finalizing the rest of the brake lines. So that was pretty good. And I do have my dog today for the next few weeks, I think, and he takes up a good amount of time. So anyway, That's where she stands, in a pile of mess. More metal to go in the other side. Once I'm done with that side, then I gotta get it out, turn it around, back it back in, do this whole side. Anyway, wish me luck. I can't thank all you enough for how many of you guys are following along and liking and commenting and subscribing and stuff like that with this silly little project of mine. So I appreciate all you guys taking your time to watch, and especially comment and subscribing and all that stuff and sharing. Thank you very much. Wish me luck for tomorrow. I gotta hit it hard tomorrow.